welcome to the first ever episode of Cervello Live. This is about take 27, because we have been having a huge amount of technical issues this morning. So if you've been waiting for us to jump on, thank you for holding on and joining us. I'm Chris Dames. I'm the Director of Cervello Financial Planning. And today is about making sure that we share good quality financial information at a time where life isn't usual. As you can see, I've got the photo of the kids there. I'm sitting at my dining room table instead of in my office. And yeah, life is interesting. But I know that a lot of the calls that we've had, both from clients and from our professional connections, have told us that it's important for us to share really good information. And the idea of Cervello Live is that we try and do that every Thursday on an ongoing basis to make sure that we are helping people make really smart decisions with their money. And today I'm joined by a guest. The guest today is John Charman. Hello, John. How you doing?
Morning, Chris. How are you?
Good, mate. And thanks for bearing with us, because I know this is about take 47. Charlotte's going to nudge me. Charlotte's next to me helping me, and she's going to nudge me if there's anything going wrong. Have we got audio as well, Charlotte?
We've got audio. We've got 10 viewers.
We've got audio and 10 viewers.
Texting in to say hi.
10 viewers have stuck with us, John.
Wow, we are rocking.
We're rocking on gas. So this time we're going to make it work. And for the guys in our audience who don't know us, and who have we got watching, Charlotte?
Nick Radwick.
Nick, thanks for watching, mate.
Amanda,
Sarah, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, Sarah.
Francis.
Thanks, Danny. Thanks, Francis. For the guys in the audience who don't know who you are, John, can you just tell us a little bit about you and your business?
Yes. Okay. So my name's John Charman, and my company's the Charman Group. It's an accountancy practice. We're chartered accountants. Okay, and we've actually been operating just under a year now. Okay, so we're a relatively new business, but so far so good. Things are moving in the right direction, and we're looking to build upon the success we've had over the last 10 months into the, hopefully once this pandemic is over.
Yeah, and we're all trying to cope with that reality, right? It's all the way that we're doing business, the way that we're engaging with clients has changed. Certainly, we've been busier than ever, because I think financial planners earn their money when people are worried. We are reaching out and trying to communicate with our clients as much as possible. Have you found clients, your limited company clients and sole trader clients, react to the current environment?
To be honest with you, it's been a real mixture. So I had a conversation at about 5:15 on Thursday, and it was only for 15 minutes. And by the time I got off the phone, because this was the announcement, this was the same time the announcement was being made by the Chancellor. And when I got off that 15-minute phone call, I had messages from 38 different people.
Yeah.
So there was quite a lot of anxious people, but by the same token, there are still people that haven't actually been in contact with me yet. And at the moment, I haven't, I've answered people who have been in contact with me, but until recently, there was a lot of matters that were announced by the government which there wasn't actually any real clarification. Yeah. And so I didn't know any stipulations that were going to come with any help or aid, grants, loans, etc., etc. So until recently, I hadn't actually pushed to start contacting any of my own clients. But you do get a real mix. There's some people that haven't contacted me at all, and they're not really too worried. And there's others that have, at the moment the announcement was made, they were messaging, John, what we're going to do. I'm in some real trouble, so to speak. So it's a real mixture. It's even a real mixture in terms of what's going on out there as well. I mean, I've got people that would still like to ideally go out and work if their sites haven't been shut down, rightly or wrongly. And I've got others that want to come home. I've got one particular client been designated as key workers.
Yeah.
And it's a real difficult one for him because he called me up. I think it might have been Monday morning. He said to me, John, I don't want to send my guys in, but the contractor that I'm working for has told me we're key workers. We've got to go in. And he signed up to a contract which, there's some big damages if the project overruns. It is for a couple of hospitals that he's working on, but these aren't hospitals. These are ones that are being built, so to speak. So they're not going to really have any sort of effects on what's going on at the moment. So it's sort of faced with a real moral dilemma.
Yeah.
And I did just end up saying to him, look, if the guys are happy to go in, at the end of the day, just let them choose what they want to do. Because if he pulls off he's in a very difficult position. Because if he pulls off the contract, they're just going to send someone else in anyway. So it's not that, it's not as if he's doing the economy or the world a disservice by not doing that.
I think
but,
you're right.
But at the same time, he would destroy a relationship with a contractor, which makes it a very, very difficult position. There's mixed opinions.
Well, I think you're right as well.
Absolutely everything.
I think you're right because we're in a position where, like, sort of at this new reality, we're dealing with things that we've never had to deal with before. And what I'm going to do specifically, John, is talk to you a little bit about the reliefs and the assistance from the government that are going to be delivered to both self-employed and employed people. But before we do that, I just want to share some tips, some financial tips to consider at the current time. This is things that we're talking about with our clients, and things that might particularly be useful. So I just want to share a few things on that. Firstly, number one is understand that this too shall pass. I'm a bit of a Tom Hanks fan. John, what's your favourite Tom Hanks movie?
Tom Hanks. I think, there's a few. I think Forrest Gump would top it.
Forrest Gump's
like
good.
To say that I'm big fans of Green Mile and Castaway.
Yeah, Green Mile is one of my favourite movies. But like, I love Toy Story as well. Toy Story is like the Toy Story. I actually watched the first Toy Story without having kids, so I don't know if that's weird or not, but we'll see. But Tom Hanks,
Toy Story at the moment is on repeat in my house. No, honestly, it really is. But it's just number two constantly.
Yeah, I know.
There's been the release of that new Disney Plus. Stream platform, hasn't there? My kids are all over that.
We haven't signed up yet because we've got Netflix, we've got Amazon Prime, and it's like, do we need more content? But I'm tempted. But Tom Hanks released a film earlier in the year, and he did an interview with the guys on 5 Live who do a radio show about film, and he one of the things that he was talking about is like life tips that was really useful. One of the things that he said was understand that everything passes. This too shall pass. And we typically see economic downturns for a variety of different reasons every 10 years. And people are always in a position where they get fearful and it's a scary position. It's completely natural. But one of the things that we're saying to our clients at the minute is avoid making financial decisions based on that panic. So things that we're trying to tell clients not to do is to make decisions about investments while markets are down. The worst time that you can sell anything is when it's worth less than it was. And that applies to investments as well. So we're trying to make sure that clients avoid making panicky decisions in terms of that. We're telling them to avoid cancelling life insurance plans if they're in place without reviewing their appropriateness first. So that's useful. And one question that we always ask our clients when we're looking at a longer term plan is, will what's going on today matter in 3, 5, 10 years' time? And the reality is we don't know at this point, but certainly one of the things that we're trying to coach our clients about is making sure that we just maintain that longer term view. If you haven't got a longer term financial plan, it's probably time to start one, because you will have more time on your hands, and this is a real opportunity, this extra amount of time, to think about what you want your future life to look like, not only your money, and it's a really good time to do that. And what we all of those things will allow you to think about being in the best position when we come out of this. And we don't know how long this situation is going to last, but we will come out of it. Tip 2 I want to talk about is being proactive with your budget plan, because even though there's plenty of support from the government that John's going to speak about, some of us will get no support. We'll certainly slip through the cracks in terms of support. But even if we do, it may not be the income that you're used to getting when you're employed. So take the time, if you've got additional time at the minute, to think about a budget plan. And if you've never done a budget plan, just going through the process of planning what you spend is actually really useful. We've got loads of tools available for that. We've got some amazing budget planning tools. If you email hello@cervellofp.co.uk, we'll get our copy of our budget plan over to you without obligation for free, so that you've got it ready. Number 3 is, if you've got a bit more time on your hands now, just spend that time making sure that you know where all your paperwork is in terms of your pensions, investments, and wills and powers of attorney. Get it all together. Make sure that you're conducting a policy audit. Number 4 is, don't be afraid to ask for help. And I wanted to point towards some places that you might be able to potentially get help. I think we've moved forward as a society in terms of asking for help. Now, one thing I want to point out here is, if you've got any questions for either John or I as we're going through this, just put it on the Facebook page and we'll endeavour to answer it when we can. But don't suffer in silence, especially when it comes to questions about money. Money is one of the largest worries in our lives. You know, every survey says that it's a concern. So please ask for help. And I wanted to just signpost stuff that might be useful to answer some of those money questions. Martin Lewis at the minute is doing amazing work in terms of sharing information and knowledge. And if you don't follow Martin Lewis at the moment, have a look at his Facebook page, have a look at him on Twitter. He's consistently sharing information that's really good. There's a free guidance service the government funds called the Money Advice Service. You can find that just by Googling Money Advice Service, and you can get access to that. But one thing I just wanted to mention, if you've got a financial advisor or a financial planner, make sure that they've got in touch, because one of the bugbears of mine is, I think that in times of volatility, times when things aren't certain, is when good quality financial advisors and planners should be in touch, and they should be earning their money. And I know certainly with our clients within our business, one of the things we've done is been pretty consistent about being there to answer questions, even if we're recommending the action people take is nothing. And the last thing is, and this probably isn't something you want to be doing immediately, but something you want to consider as we come out of this, which we will, is think about getting the basics right. I know, John, that when we had our failed attempts at going live before, you were talking a bit about cash contingencies. And I think that's really important, having an emergency fund to make sure that when stuff happens, and it does, we've got some spare money. What do you do about that in your business?
Generally speaking, exactly what you said. I try and keep roughly 3 months worth of overheads in my account at any point in time.
Yeah.
And then generally speaking, what it also allows you to do, Chris, because I actually, although I didn't need it, I borrowed some money off my mum when I started the business.
Yeah.
And that was purely on the basis from a excuse me, from a sort of mental perspective, knowing that I had sufficient funds in the bank account.
Yeah.
I made business decisions based on whether they were good business decisions to make, rather than sort of sat there and wondered to myself, I don't know if I've really got the money for that. I made the decisions purely on the basis, purely on merit.
Yeah, well, I mean, that goes back to that thing about making panic decisions, doesn't it? If you're
absolutely.
If you're in a position where you've got the mental freedom to make decisions that are right for the longer term, I think you're always going to make a better choice financially and in your life than if you're making panic decisions. So yeah, that having that cash buffer is certainly important. A couple of other things that are really important to consider. And before I talk about that, John, we've had a couple of comments that I just want to share. Firstly, Desmond, this is meant to be a show about money, and that's my dog going now. This is meant to be a show about money, but Desmond's just, for some reason, sent his favourite Tom Hanks movies in. So Desmond really likes Big, Turner and Hooch, which is a good one. The Money Pit, which might be relevant, and Toy Story. So he likes that. And we've also had a comment from one of our viewers that says, apparently, and I've never seen a resemblance, you look quite a lot like Chris Martin from Coldplay.
I've never heard that in my life.
No, me neither.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
3 things to get the basics right on the financial side. Number 1, think about, as we're coming out of this, the fact that we need to add that cash contingency, that emergency fund, really important. Get the basics in place in terms of writing a will and doing a power of attorney. They're pretty low-cost stuff you can do that make sure your family are protected if the worst occurs, and make sure you put financial protection in place, life cover, critical illness, to make sure that your families are looked after if the worst occurs to you. And start thinking about your longer term financial planning. Again, we're still early days in this current situation, and you might not want to do it yet because you're still getting used to whatever this new normal is. But thinking about the future mentally really helps you cope with this circumstance. So I'd always recommend you do that from a financial perspective. So hopefully there was useful stuff there. John, any basic financial planning tips or accountancy tips you'd recommend?
Basic ones.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it goes back to keeping some, sufficient reserves in your account. And it's not about trying. Excuse me. I imagine a lot of people will come off watching this video thinking that I've got the virus. I'm sure you might have. Well, I don't think I have. Yeah. And but yeah, so it goes to sort of living to your means and not going absolutely wild when each business has times of year when there's more money in the account, when there's less money in the account. Yeah. It's seasonality of demand. And the idea is that during those good times, you carry on sort of, drawing the same amount and spending the same amount, so that, you build up a reserve within your account so that when you hit the bad times, you've got a little bit of a reserve. Yeah. I mean, it's, I suppose it's not particularly helpful speaking about this sort of thing now. It might have been helpful a couple of months ago, but hopefully people can take away from this that if anything like this happens again, that we might all be a little bit better prepared.
Yeah, I think you're right. Interestingly, the conversations that I'm having at the minute are around the lines of how do we cope today? And I think it's important to cover off those sort of issues. What I think it's also important to talk about, though, is making sure we don't make the mistakes of the past. Insanity is just repeating history over and over again. So I think it's just important that we make sure we highlight what we can potentially do next time. We've had a comment from a male who's a fellow financial planner who's an amazing guy. Thanks for commenting. And he's commented that mental peace is really important. Mental calmness is really good for really important key for sound decision making when it comes to money. So thanks for the validation there. I really appreciate it. John, I want to talk to you a little bit about the current support available, because we've talked about what people potentially do in the medium to long term. I want to talk a little bit about what people can do today to get the support they need that's been announced from the government. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about what's available for self-employed people.
Okay, so obviously the beginning of last weekish, it was announced that a lot of people that were employed were going to be supported with 80% of their wages, and this sparked quite a lot of a lot of self-employed people, certainly that I saw on social media, were quite angry by this. They needed to do it anyway, but what the Chancellor announced last Thursday was that self-employed people were going to be granted 80% of their declared earnings over the last 3 years. And when this came out, it was quite vague, and I understand, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of things that the government needs to cover off when these particular announcements are made.
I mean, it's interesting.
So just to clear some of those matters up, if you have been self-employed for at least 3 years, okay, or 4 years, so going back to, if you've been self-employed since April 2016. You will be assessed, the grant will be based on your 16-17 declared earnings, your 17-18 declared earnings, and your 18-19 declared earnings. So when I say declared earnings, I'm talking about trading profits, self-employment. So if you've got a little bit of a mixture of income, it is literally the self-employment profits that this is being based on.
Yeah. And
then straight away that sparks all the questions over, well, John, what if I've only been self-employed for 2 years? As long as you have been self-employed for round about 18 months or so, and completed a self-assessment tax return for the 18-19 tax year, your earnings will be you will be granted based on that. Okay, it's just a case of, if you've been self-employed for longer than that, then they take into account the earlier years as well.
Yeah,
and the amount of the grant is 80% of declared earnings. And that's covered up to a maximum of £2,500 per month.
Yeah. How long does that last for? Do we know yet?
Okay, so at the moment, as with all of the government measures, it's only been announced for 3 months. So what's in place at the moment is that self-employed will be contacted in June. Okay, so they will be contacted by HMRC, notifying them that they're eligible to apply for this particular grant. So they'll be notified that they're eligible to apply for this particular grant, and then my understanding is that there'll be an application form to complete, and this will come about in June. Okay. Now a lot of people commenting, saying, well, look, it's all well and good, but 3 months it's a long time to go without any money whatsoever. I must let you know that whilst this is going on, bizarrely, self-employed people are actually allowed to work.
Yeah,
they're actually allowed to work during this period, so they can find themselves in a position whereby they're actually, there'll be some issues surrounding the morality of it. And I don't know how it's going to be policed, but you could find some people. Apologies, that was Frank the Pope. But yeah, you'll find yourself. You may find yourself in a position that's arguably slightly better, but I don't know how the whole, if there's going to be any further criteria mentioned. The thing for the people that aren't working at all, because they have been told that they can't work. In the meantime, to tide yourself over for 3 months, get yourself on the internet and apply for universal credit to see if you're eligible for that. Because I think it's somewhere around about it's around about £94 a week for the time being. But
yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I was listening to a radio show yesterday, and they were talking about universal credit applications have been fast tracked to support people more, and there was a couple of people on there who were talking about the fact that they'd applied and got the information straight away. One quick question: where do you buy the loudest dog in the world?
Sorry?
Where do you buy the loudest dog in the world? I mean, that pug is literally the loudest dog I've ever heard.
I don't know really.
I'm joking.
He does love a little bark. I mean, you can see the size of it. He's only little.
Yeah, relative to his size, it's quite a loud dog. So that's talking about the self-employed. How about people? Because there's clients of mine, and I'm sure clients of yours, who run limited companies but might be the only person employed in that business. What are they entitled to?
Yeah, so this is it's a real interesting one that's come about a lot, and also one that's caused quite a lot of confusion as well. Whereby when the announcements were made about the employed to begin with, it was a case of, well, directors are technically employees of their own companies, so they're not actually classed as self-employed.
Yeah.
Whilst they, whilst if you adopt a common sense approach to it, I suppose they are self-employed. But what they do is we set them up with limited companies as a vehicle to be most tax efficient, really.
Yeah.
But I must stress that when the self-employment announcement was made last Thursday, that it did stipulate that director-only sort of one-man band sort of companies, they would not be included within this, and dividends would not be counted towards these earnings that you could be granted money on.
Yeah.
So what it's a case of is now is that with the employed, so the coronavirus retention scheme, whereby employees are granted 80% of their salary if they're designated as furlough.
Yeah.
Directors can find themselves under that umbrella. But there are some, unlike the self-employed, there are a lot stricter stipulations with respect to this. So if a director decides that he wants to furlough himself, and he does need to do this in order to qualify for the 80% of his salary, okay, so in a lot of cases, certainly with a lot of my clients, they might be on a relatively low salary. Certainly most out there, you might see a salary of between £8,000 and £12,000 per year.
One quick question.
Depending on, but it does depend on client circumstances. Now, understandably, a lot of directors are sitting there and going, well, I'm only going to get 80% of my salary. And yes, unfortunately, that is the case. And that's only if you qualify as furlough as well.
So that's a question.
I'm stressed that if you're a furloughed employee, so if the director decides to furlough himself, you're not actually allowed to work at all.
Right.
And Martin Lewis, has done quite a lot of good work on this. And this area is an area where Martin Lewis done some really good work. It certainly gave me a lot of my knowledge that where I needed clarity on certain things. And he stated that a director, whilst on furlough, can only carry out his fiduciary duties. To pronounce that word.
So he can't.
I can never say that.
So for the
and that essentially means looking after the books and records and ensuring that the accounts are filed on time. There isn't really too much outside of that they can do. So anything to do with, even if they're not doing the physical work, maybe they're maintaining relationships with clients or suppliers. Maybe they're posting on social media to try and promote their business. That technically is carrying out work that, strictly speaking, shouldn't be doing.
So, quick question, John.
So it's a real difficult one, and also it's a little bit of a grey area as to what stipulates, working on your business, so to speak, as opposed to working on your duties as director.
So, quick question then: self-employed people can apply for the relief and continue to work. you're a limited company business owner, and you're like us, continuing to speak to clients, continuing to earn fees, continuing business as usual, you're certainly not entitled to that. One question that we've had in from Jags. Thanks for your question, Jags. Universal credit is means tested, so we know that if you earn more, I think it's £16,000. If you've got £16,000 worth of savings, you're not entitled to universal credit. What happens if you own a rental property?
To be honest, it's a good question. And you know what? It's not something that I'm particularly sure on. It's universal credit until recently. There was my understanding of a lot of the benefit system was actually quite low.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought, because I would have thought that the rental property is classified as an asset, as if it was money in your bank, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting.
So I wouldn't have thought there could be any claim done on that.
Yeah.
But it's worth checking.
Well, it's an interesting one, and what we'll do is we'll on next week's show. I don't know the answer either, but on next week's show, we'll get the answer to that, Jags, and we'll make sure that we mention that, because it's a really good question. You won't be the only person in that position who is there. John, talk to me a little bit about some of the other sort of reliefs and grants that are available for people if they're struggling financially at the current time.
Okay, so firstly, I'll sort of just touch on the director a little bit more, because I haven't absolutely explained everything yet. But there'll be, as a director, you'll be entitled to 80% of your salary, just like if you furlough yourself, and it'll be, and this scheme's actually put in place to support the employers. So any businesses out there employing a number of staff who can't actually who can't continue to work, the business is going to have to continue paying them unless they lay them off. So this coronavirus job retention scheme was actually put in place to support employers in order to continue paying employees so that they didn't lose staff or have to lay them off. And it's 80% of the wage of your salary, and someone needed to be employed, or someone needed to be on the payroll in February. So unfortunately, if anyone sort of began in March, they don't qualify, unfortunately. So if anyone gets laid off who began in March, it's going to be a difficult one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So there's that. You've also got, in terms of support for self-employed people, there's so a lot of self-employed people, if your tax bill's above £1,000 a year, you have to pay what's called a payment on account.
Yeah.
Okay, so you make payments on account. You make one in January and one in July. The one in July has actually been postponed, okay, or deferred. So what will happen is that any money that was due to be paid at the end of July doesn't have to be paid until January 2021.
Quick question.
Unfortunately, yes, that will mean double bubble, because it's not a case of this is sort of a grant where you're being given something. It is money that will have to be paid eventually.
A quick question.
You've got businesses that are VAT registered. So for the quarter ends 28th of February, or 29th of February, 31st of March, and 30th of April. All right, where typically the payments would have been due on the 7th of April, 7th of May, and the 7th of June. Those payments won't have to be paid until the 31st of March 2021. Okay, so what's good about this scheme is that it's something, yes, it's only a temporary measure in order to keep business afloat, but it's something that's actually quite simple. So whilst there's no official handout from the government in this particular instance, what it does is it gives businesses a cash injection in order to survive through this difficult period. And all it is about doing is surviving through this period. And then that money will be repaid.
John, quick question, mate. Hold on. Quick question.
Go on.
I mean, all of these things are effectively just pushing your liability for VAT and self-assessment back. If you've got the money, you can still pay it, right? You can still make a payment in July if you wanted to.
You can still make the payment, and you know what? A lot of my clients are actually saying, "Well, John, can I just pay the money?"
Yeah.
I'm trying to persuade them best I can not to do that, just to keep it to the side. Now, this might not necessarily be great practice in terms of building up your liabilities going forward. But the way that I've sold it to them is, well, look, what you need to bear in mind is that you might pay that VAT liability, and then in 2 weeks' time, when another announcement's made, we might be, you find we might be in sort of lockdown, so to speak, over the next 3, 4, 5 months, and then all of a sudden you'll be sitting there in 4 months' time, 5 months' time, thinking to yourself, "Oh, I wish I hadn't paid that back liability."
Well,
done with that.
It goes back.
I'm just telling people to transfer the money to a separate account and forget about it, and then they can delve into it if they absolutely need it.
Well, it goes back again to that.
It's just a fear of the unknown. But yeah, a lot of people are saying to me, "John, I'd rather just pay it to be honest, so I know where I'm at."
Well, it goes back to that thing where, having that cash contingency and having it in the bank, knowing that you may never use it, is going to be useful in the coming months, right? It just makes sense. I know there's been some announcements about, and that's my dog, the second loudest dog in the world. I know that there's been some stuff in place on mortgages and mortgage holidays. Can you tell us a bit about that?
I heard mortgage holidays. What was the first thing you said?
So I know there's been some reliefs around sort of deferment of paying your mortgage. Is it for 3 months?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you can defer your mortgage for 3 months.
Yeah.
And this has come under quite a lot of scrutiny actually, because depending on your mortgage, a lot of people were actually already entitled to this, but they didn't realise.
Right.
And so it's something that a lot of banks offer as standard, so to speak. So yeah, a lot of people are sitting there going, "Well, we could have done that anyway." So it has been, in certain cases, it's been marketed as if they're giving something that when realistically it was already there. But this is the whole thing really. When you can get sort of a 3-month holiday on your mortgage, to private renters out there, you're not going to be. It's sort of become illegal to evict people over the next, I think it was 3 or 6 months. I can't remember what that was off the top of my head, but it's become illegal to evict people. So all of a sudden, people are sitting there and they're going to have a roof over their head for 3 months.
Yeah.
With no major problems. Now, yes, the interest does compound over that period. At the end of the day, this is a payment holiday, so if you take that mortgage holiday, then the chances are when you make your payment in July or August, or depending on whether you defer that payment, that your repayments are actually going to be a bit higher.
Does that apply to £10,
£15 a month, for argument's sake? It is, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
John,
John,
the interest does not get frozen. It's a case of that continues.
Yeah.
And that's available as well to buy-to-let landlords as well.
Okay,
and I think the reason that this has been made available is so that they're obviously not under too much pressure.
Yeah.
Given the fact that they may not be receiving payments on the properties that they're renting out.
Yeah. And what are your top tips to support the self-employed and business owners when going through this really difficult time for a lot of people?
Well, first of all, as you've mentioned many times, don't panic.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely don't panic.
Yeah.
I'd also really recommend staying on top of your finances and really sort of looking at what you're spending. If there's anything a little bit unnecessary right now, then try to lower that off for the time being. And then for the self-employed people in particular, I think it's really important that you get in contact with your accountant at this point in time if you haven't been already, because you may be entitled to something that you don't realise that you are. I've had conversations with quite a few people whereby I've just been talking to them about something else because maybe a VAT return's been due, or we've got to submit a set of accounts. And I've said to them, look, you do realise you'd be entitled to this. And they've gone, oh, really? Like, I didn't know that. And all of a sudden, it just gives you that little bit, that mental boost as well.
Yeah.
When you're entitled to something that you're not. I mean, in particularly, I've been asked a lot of questions around. So any businesses operating premise, working out of the premises, you can be entitled to a grant from the government. This would be a grant, so this isn't a deferral, or it hasn't got to be repaid at any point. You can actually receive a grant from the government if you're operating in a business premises with a rateable value of less than 15,000 a year.
That only applies to people who pay business rates, right? So not.
Well, it's actually so people with a rateable value of 15 below 15,000. Generally speaking, they can claim small business rates relief anyway.
Yeah.
So they're not actually paying any rates. This is what the common misconception is. Because when I've told people, they've said, "Well, hang on a minute, John, I don't actually pay rates, so why would I be entitled to that?" But the key behind it is getting some support in order to pay your rent for the next 3 months, 4 months, for argument's sake. There is a £10,000 grant available to anyone operating commercial premises that's responsible for the rates. When I say responsible, so me, for example, unfortunately, I'm in a serviced office, so I pay my rent each month, but I don't actually, I won't see any benefit in that, unfortunately. So you do have to be responsible for the rates. I've got various clients whereby they haven't long moved into the unit, and the premises isn't registered in their name, so they need to sort of try and really get on board with that and speed that process up. And then furthermore, for businesses operating in the retail, leisure and hospitality sector, they will actually, if they're operating out of the premises with a rateable value between 15 and 51,000, then they'll be eligible for a £25,000 grant to keep them tied over. Not to mention the fact that they're not going to have to pay any business rates for 2021.
Yeah, I mean they've done quite a lot in terms of supporting businesses through a particularly difficult time. But a couple of things you said there, I think certainly ring true. Take the time now to find out what you're entitled to, because a lot of people assume that they're not going to get it and don't speak to somebody about what they're potentially entitled to. Couple of things that I'm going to share that might be useful for our listeners. Please do make the most of that budget plan. You can use it for both your personal expenses, but it also applies to your business. And certainly one of the things that we've done as a business over the past couple of weeks, not me personally, Cass is a million times better at doing this, is just going through, we use Xero as our accounting software, going through Xero and saying, are there any expenses that we actually need in this 3 month period? And we've actually gone back to our service office and negotiated an arrangement where we pay no rent for 3 months. Now, we're lucky enough to be able to continue to trade. I know not a lot of businesses can't do that. But if you don't ask the question, you don't get, right? So just what can you potentially negotiate to support your business and yourself financially over the next few months, I think is going to be really useful. John, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for bearing with us as we got through our technical issues. Hopefully we'll get better over time. Are you, just out of interest, are you sticking with the accountancy, or are you going to start a new career as a Chris Martin lookalike?
Well, I'll practice on the singing and we'll see how this area comes out. Funny enough, did you see the Facebook live video that he done? So you've got all these musicians at the moment. I know.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of Gary Barlow ones.
Gary Barlow's doing it. Yeah.
They're taking, or they're singing songs, or they're taking requests. And Chris Martin, unfortunately, he actually he took all these requests, and he was literally he couldn't remember the lyrics and the the piano. It got a little bit embarrassing to be watching it.
Yeah, you know what? I think one of the positive things to come out of the situation is people are having to get a bit more just like I mean the one we're liking at the minute is Taskmaster. If you don't like if you're not following Taskmaster on social media, give that a look because they are posting a task for somebody to complete in their house every day. And on one recently they did uh like camouflage yourself and send a 20-minute video in and a 20-second video in, and some of the responses were absolute genius. So yeah, definitely worth a watch. Just last question, John. If people need to find out a little bit more about you, where can they find out a little bit about you?
Okay, so they can either go onto our Facebook page. Okay, where we're not really active, but right now we're sharing quite a lot of updates with respect to what people might be entitled to claim. So yeah, if you just go onto Facebook and find a Charman group, you should be able to find us. And then failing that, visit our website. You'll find a contact email address and our office phone number, which luckily enough is currently being diverted to my mobile, so I still get the joys of answering it.
Yeah.
And so that's www.thecharmangroup.co.uk.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us for the first ever Cervello Live. I promise our audience it will get better. We'll try and make sure that we're learning from our technical hiccups. I hope you found some of the information that John and I have been sharing today really useful. And we'll see you this time next week. We're going to go out Thursday live every Thursday morning. And I am joined by one of my colleagues at Cervello, Demi Nurse. And we're going to be sharing more tips to make sure that you can thrive and survive at this present time financially. Hopefully that was useful. Have a lovely Thursday. Sorry. And we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.